How's everyone doing today? This is Zach Allen. You know how much I like shallowing the golf club, and you know how I think it's a very crucial part of the golf swing. We're going to take a deep dive today. I've got a little wrist sensor here working that's going to really enlighten you and to give you the key pieces into shallowing the club. There's a lot of students I work with that are so close. There's just a couple little missing ingredients, a couple little more things that they need to understand, and they're going to get that breakthrough, okay? But just remember, if you like my videos and they've helped you in the past, feel free to like, subscribe, comment on what you see, good or bad, doesn't matter, it's all great. And then we'll jump right into this video. So, like we talked about, shallowing is so important because what it does is it allows you to get into a position in the downswing to where your body is very stable and balanced and the club is in a great delivery position to hit the ball far and straight, okay? So you'll see from both views just how balanced my body looks here, okay? So some bad ways, right, obviously is usually your worst players, they start to get over the top and you notice how my body starts to go out onto my toes. I start to move ahead of it. That's obviously not going to be a very balanced position. And your better players, they'll try to shallow the club, but they'll do it in a way where their body also starts to get in too much of this early tilt and they get in what's called a stuck position. So either one is not exactly right. And the key to understanding the differences of what you're doing and what you need to do, what the best players in golf are doing, and by the way, stick around because I'm going to show you just a few different players and their exact words for how they make this move in the golf swing. But also just what exactly our wrists are doing, because I really think that's a big key, it's a big breakthrough. It's helping a lot of my students here in person finally break through and understand how to shallow the club, okay? So I'm using this Hack Motion wrist sensor. There's a 3D live print of my wrist and lower forearm. You can see it's kind of flexing, extending, hinging, and unhinging. And then I've also got some corresponding numbers going on up here, okay? So I've got my special club here. I've just got this white thing on so you can kind of better see what my wrists are doing. And I've got a little tennis ball here that shows where the center of mass or the balance point of the club is, right? It's just where it kind of balances in space here. So what you want to realize that's really crucial, okay, is when you get back to impact, my shaft is going to return pretty near where it started. So by that I mean, take a look at that blue number. You notice it says like -50 right there. It's not up here, right? Obviously I'm losing, that number's changing into a less negative number. So my wrists are fully unhinged and uncocked. And then from this view, this face-on view, my lead wrist has a little bit of flexion in it, right? That's allowing me to de-loft the club, or it's allowing me to turn my 7-iron down into a 6-iron, okay? So that's really important because that's exactly what we want to do early in the downswing. So as I get up to the top, those angles are all going to change. So in a way, my hands and arms in the backswing, they just go up like this, and then that's a great top of backswing position, right? So you see the club is right down the line, my wrists are hinged, but notice how different those numbers are. The blue is down to -11, and my left wrist is extended 30 some odd degrees, okay? So we remembered that when I got to impact, we were not near there at all, right? At impact, I was down here. So the big question is, in order to shallow the club, right, in order to lower the club back down to its original position, what exactly do my wrists and arms need to do? Okay, and I'm going to show you exactly what that is. When I get to the top, the motion is not the bad player going this way. You can see I'm still keeping a lot of wrist angle as I start down and my body's starting to move forward towards my toes. Not this way either, because that's a different version of the same thing. The only benefit to this is at least I'm coming from the inside. I'm going to get a little more power because of angular momentum, but I'm still going to be in a little bit of trouble that way, okay? So what my wrists are doing, if I just showed you what my wrist conditions do, they're actually just doing this, right? You're like, wow, that looks like a cast, right? Check it out. If I just move forward to impact with a little bit of rotation, I'm in a perfect impact position, okay? So I was here, up, so my wrists are unhinging to get back to that address position where the club head was below my hands, and then I've also got a little bit of flexion in my lead wrist, right? It's not a cast because when somebody casts, they tend to cast this way out towards the golf ball. And there's a lot of extension in this lead wrist. They're not going to get that power benefit. Okay, so the motion is this way as I come down, and then my body turns, and that's how we get to impact, with that shaft returning fairly near where it started. Okay, what looks weird, obviously, is when I just do it in one motion with just my arms and hands, and then I work to impact, right? It's very piecey. We've got to be able to blend that all into one feeling, okay? So what happens with this center of mass, when you watch it from this view, it's doing three things. I'll show you them real slow. It's going up, right? Notice how the tennis ball is going up. You go compared to what? Compared to going down. That's what a lot of, say, single-digit handicappers are doing, but they're struggling with pushes and blocks, okay? So it's going up. It's also going back behind me. And the back is from my rotation. That's when that happens, okay? And it's also going around, okay? So it's going up, back, and around all at the same time. So the forces that are acting upon the grip end of the club to make that happen, they're not this. Here's the bad player again, okay? You see what the center of mass and the wrist conditions do? I'm going to be in a lot of trouble right here with my club. It's much too high and it's outside my hand. So I'm going to definitely be cutting across this. These are the people that are fading and slicing the ball, okay? It's not this one either, because pretty much my wrist conditions haven't changed. I've just really thrusted my hips forward and, you know, towards the ball slightly even, right? So there's going to be a very last-minute move to really get my wrist to a decent impact position. We need to do that earlier, okay? So the feeling here is I'm actually pushing the club out as I transition, which when I was, you know, 10 years ago even, I was always taught to lag the club, okay? And, you know, increasing this angle coming down in an effort that, okay, if I have this larger, this great angle coming down, it's going to swing out even faster, accelerating the club through the ball. That's really not what's happening, okay? So the feeling and the movement is I'm actually pushing the club this way as I start down, so up and behind me, okay? So as I say behind is a motion that almost feels like it's back here, okay? If it was a clock, right? Say if this was 12 o'clock in front of me and we had 9 o'clock here, 3 o'clock here, it feels like it's around 4:30 or so. So somewhere on about a 40-degree angle back in that direction. So if you do it wrong, it's really important, because if you do it this way, then that is going to be a cast, okay? So if we do it the correct way, and you'll see some of these other players demonstrate and show exactly what I'm talking about, that's not a cast, okay? Because the club is still trailing me as I move into the golf ball, right? Because the club is behind me. That's what actually lag feels like. Lag is the feeling of the club head being behind myself, not this angle coming down. So what I want you to do at first, before we get into hitting some shots, is just slowly rehearse those feelings just in one motion. Okay, here's my wrist coming down, and then you'll notice the other thing, my wrist feel a little drooped or unhinged, right? We can see that by that large negative blue number, right? Negative 74. And there's a little bit of flexion, or my knuckles turning down towards the ground. That would be a great impact position right there, okay? I got good shaft lean, I've got my hands in front of the ball, and I've got great body turn. The big reason that our body is turning is the feeling of me pushing the club back this way allows my body to work against it, and I really actually start to turn. When the club is working the same way as my turn immediately shuts down, and I start looking more like this when I hit the golf ball. Okay, so let me go ahead and demonstrate just what that would look like taking it to the driving range.
So the longest hitter in golf currently working those two feelings of lowering his arms and then adding the body rotation. And notice how he lowers his arms in relation to that man in the blue shirt standing behind him. And then coming up, we've got feels from other great players and how they initiate the downswing.
One of them is going to be the beginning of the downswing. It's important to pull down with the club. It's important that you do it with your arms, not with your body. After you start pulling down with your arms, Important, very important to keep your height.
Yeah, you always see me sort of pumping here, pump faking or whatever it is. That is a feeling of me sort of somewhat trying to feel the same. I hate it when my left arm gets out. That's my fault. So for me, when I'm pumping it down like this, I'm trying to keep my back to the target. I'm trying to keep my left arm drop. I want my left arm to drop and stay connected.
On the way down, I feel like I press my feet into the ground. I'd like to use the ground, so I always feel like if I can get really grounded with my feet, kind of a kickstart, and if I just let it fall from there, I like the feeling of my right elbow coming ahead of me, so I try and let the club fall without me doing it.
I hope you're liking that demonstration from what other great players are feeling, and that's their same way of describing this is what a downswing feels like. And a lot of times it does not look or does not feel what it looks like, okay? So how can we make this our own, right? How can we master these movements ourselves? So I've got just a 9-iron here. I've also got this shaft kind of just, standing at that 430 angle, so I get a good sense of where I'm exactly unhinging the club to. And what I'll do is just start off slowly, and we'll just kind of just chunk this together in a couple different pieces before we start going full speed. So I'll just lower my hands and arms down. And just to start, a great way to start, and then just turn to the ball. So back, one motion, lower my hands and arms down. You notice when I do it, the club head is a little below my hands. It's not above my hands. It's slightly below my hands. It's almost in a straight line, right, with my lead arm. And then around to the golf ball. Up, unhinge, down to the ball. Up, unhinge, down to the ball. Now it's time to just chip one. Same motion, up, unhinge. Now a small pump, and then down to the ball. And don't worry how you hit the golf ball at first. I actually hit behind that one. You probably will too, because it's a very pieced together motion, but you're just trying to feel independent pieces before you start to put them together. So don't worry about the result at all. Up to the top, wrist and club down. I feel like my wrist droop. I can feel the weight of the club pulling down on my wrist, uncocking my wrist downward, and then pump it. Pump just means you don't start from here. Once you get here, you're going to just pump it back and then go ahead and hit it. Okay? So I know there's a lot of you out here that think he's teaching me how to cast the club. It's not going to be a cast. If you watch here, I've got one of these very flexible clubs. When I go to push out on the club as I start down, so literally my hands and arms are pushing this way as I come down. When you put this together with full speed, obviously the shaft, your shaft is not this flexible, but you can see how it looks like I have lag. Part of why it looks like I have lag because my hands are going this way as the club head is still tracing the other way. And then the other part is, if you look here, if I just take the club and I put it more behind me, it looks like I have more lag than if I was up here. You see how that's kind of an optical illusion there slightly? So both those things are happening at one and the same time. So I'm pushing the club back, up, and around as soon as I transition. Gets my body into a very strong hitting position, okay? So it's definitely not a cast. It's only a cast if you go this way with it, right? That would be at like the 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock direction. It's back here. Okay, so once you've done a couple slow, now you're going to just try to blend that feeling together at one speed and one motion. So I'm feeling this feel, and I'm just putting some body rotation to it. And remember, this is not body rotation for you better players. That's me side tilting and sliding, okay? Body rotation is going to feel like I'm just going like this, right? You notice when I get to the top of my backswing, my lead shoulder's lower. It's going to be lower as I come down. It's not going to instantly go up this way, okay? So be careful when you think body turn. Some of you are used to doing this and early extending some with it. That's not exactly a body turn. So now I'm just going to kind of put it all together. So I'm feeling this as I rotate. So at first it's very different just because my hands and arms are doing this, and then I'm rotating my body at one and the same time. So it's doing two different things at once. And then again, I'm going to hit the ball maybe 50 or 60 yards. Okay, so that felt great. You know, if you've watched my videos, I tend to refer to shallowing the club as it feels like a twirl. And that's the center of mass going up, back, and behind me. Something that all great players do, and that allows you to work your body in a great, balanced, powerful way, rather than this way or this way. And pretty much everybody I see is one or the other. If they're the good one, they're shooting under par, okay? So it's a great thing, and you really can get a sense of how to do that consistently. It's going to finally unlock you hitting drivers well, you hitting irons well. You're not going to be one of those people that I just hit my driver good, but then I can't hit my irons. I can't hit my wedges. Or I can hit my wedges, but then I have no chance hitting a driver. I'm too steep. So it's really important when you start to shallow the golf club, you're going to still be able to hit your wedges well because you've got good shaft lean, good compression, but you're also going to hit your longer clubs well because the club is coming down on a good angle. A lot of players that hit wedges well, they come down steep, they can hit a wedge pretty good, put a 5-iron or a 4-iron in their hands, and that's a different story. So definitely give this drill a try. I know it looks strange at first, but it's really unlocking the benefits of how you shallow the golf club. Have a great day, and I'll see you next video. Thank you so much for watching that video. If you really liked it, feel free to subscribe or give me a thumbs up. I love hearing from you guys too, so definitely drop a comment with any questions or concerns. But if you really want to get a lot of my content that's not on YouTube, I have an email list. All you need to do is click the link below, put your email in, and you'll be getting all this content for free that nobody else gets on YouTube. Lessons from me that come out almost every other day. I'll talk to you soon.